I pushed myself to start this series, Your Body's Not the Problem, Your Clothes Are, by being the most extreme version of vulnerable that I can think of without being censored and cut off online, which is getting dressed in my underwear and showing everyone my bloated belly, my jiggly thighs, sharing my measurements, sharing my sizes.
When you strip down to your bra and your panties, like you are so confident. Look at your confidence just come out. And I think a lot of women are like, how can that be possible? How can that be possible? So I guess I want to ask, how is that possible for you to be confident?
Welcome to the Feminine Alchemy podcast, where we explore the truth about the feminine, the peaceful, the wild, and the visceral. I'm your host, J.N. Behringer, joined by my co-hosts, Julie Dean Richards and Kaylee Rose. Each week, we explore the deep mysteries of the feminine and help listeners apply them to their daily lives in a practical way. Join us to unlock the hidden wisdoms your soul has been waiting for.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feminine Alchemy. I am Julie Dean Richards, and I am joined by a good friend today. I'm so excited to be chatting with her. She's one of the brightest and most fun people in the world, I think, and out online. She's such an influence for good. Her name is Camellia Jade. And she is a stylist, body confidence advocate, and someone who's deeply passionate about helping women feel strong, beautiful, and confident in who they are. On her own self-love journey, Camellia understands the power of embracing vulnerability and the importance of showing up authentically in every area of life. With a kind and caring soul, she creates spaces for women to connect, grow, and rediscover their inner strength, all while celebrating their unique beauty. Whether it's through styling, empowering talks, or workshops, Camelia's mission is to help you feel seen, heard, and unapologetically confident. What a bio! Oh my gosh. Say hello, Camellia Jade.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. As you heard, Camellia is a stylist, but that's not all she does, really. She does a lot more of this advocating for body confidence, helping women, and she does it in a way that's actually quite unique, I think, in this sphere, which is probably what has made her so popular online. And you may have seen or come across her stuff on Instagram. She's been throwing these amazing parties, which we will talk about. But the first thing I want to talk about with Camellia, I was super lucky to spend time with her at an amazing retreat, and we got to be friends, which was like so great. And I just want you to be able to tell your story of where did this come from? Why did you start doing this? And what is the vulnerability piece of this? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so it's an evolution of how I um, got to this space, but I started out working at a boutique and styling women, and the boutique really focused on midlife women. That was their main clientele, and midlife women have gone through many changes. So I'm in my mid 30s, so a lot of my friends have seen their bodies change through pregnancy. But most women I was working with were somewhere between 50, 60, even 70. So their bodies have seen pregnancy, their bodies have seen loss, their bodies have seen maybe medications, sickness, and menopause, which our bodies change drastically during menopause. So the women that I was working with were coming to me for style advice. But for the most part, what I noticed was the body that they were working with was a body that was very unfamiliar to them. And that was the number one thing that I heard was my body didn't used to look this way. Now I'm this size. Now I have these saddlebags, or now I have this extra flab around my belly. Now my arms are larger, right? When we go through menopause, our body changes and things shift on our body. And so part of my job was not only to find clothing that fit their body, but I wanted to bring back the confidence that they had lost. A lot of them were shrinking. They were defaulting in their clothing because they didn't know what to wear. And what I noticed more and more was it almost felt like they didn't feel like they were valuable or worthy enough to wear the things that they wanted to wear. So here I am styling them, almost having a little bit of a therapy session, telling them they look amazing, finding clothes that fit them. Some of them were crying by the end of the session, and it was just so heartwarming, right? And it made me feel so good. But as I continued to do this, I realized that I was telling these women amazing things about themselves. But when I would go home, the conversation I would have with my own body in the mirror was completely different. So I felt like I was talking the talk, but not walking the walk. So there was a disconnect that I felt. I didn't feel like I was being genuine. I felt like I was being fake to these women. How could I tell them to love themselves and the new body that they have when I was so rigid and strict and mean about my body? And so that was the catalyst for truly taking the next step in my body love journey. I had started a little bit over the years, letting go of a few old stigmas, but this was the catalyst that really pushed me over the edge. It was trying to help women and realizing I was not helping myself. And so I took a step back and I thought about how I could be more genuine, how I could be real, how I could walk the walk, right? And I noticed I was following a few women online that helped me feel better about my body because they were sharing their bodies online. So, one woman I love, she's based in Australia. She has struggled with eating disorders throughout her whole life, and she's been very open about her journey. And she's at a very healthy, happy weight now, but she still shows her cellulite and her bloated belly and all the struggles she's gone through. She shows her pimples and her scars and all of the things that make us real that normally we try to hide online. Seeing her share that made me feel more comfortable with my own body. And I noticed I was following other women doing the same thing. And that's what pushed me to start the series, Your Body's Not the Problem, Your Clothes Are, and being vulnerable with my own body online to push myself to love myself completely and continue helping other women love their bodies and love themselves completely and wholly.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story. And I love that. I think so many women can really resonate with, I'm really nice to everybody else. It's really easy for me to tell everyone else that they're beautiful and actually mean it. Like we mean it when we say it, but to be so rigid with ourselves. And I love this normalization. So I think we should, that's like kind of a cliffhanger. We should tell people, what are you doing online, right? You talked about some women you saw. And I think that's so beautiful. This sharing of like, this is normal. This is okay. This is what my body looks like. Like, this is a real body instead of an airbrushed body, right? So, I would love to hear, what does your, this segment, Your Body's Not the Problem, Your Clothes Are, entail? What have you been doing with this?
So I pushed myself to start this series, Your Body's Not the Problem, Your Clothes Are, by being the most extreme version of vulnerable that I can think of without being censored and cut off online, which is getting dressed in my underwear and showing everyone my bloated belly, my jiggly thighs, sharing my measurements, sharing my sizes. Because what I also noticed was even when I was sharing outfits online, there was a disconnect. People would judge me and say things about my body or the way that I look or the way that I acted online that was very invalidating to my profession. Oh, well, you can't dress this person who's a size 16 because you wear a size 6, which is not the case. I knew how to dress well for my body, but they were making judgments against me. And so I thought, well, let me just bear it all and show people that all bodies look different. And I've even had women comment and they say, I have the same measurements as you, but my body looks completely different. And it's just helped so much to bridge that gap that we have online. We're already dealing with a screen, so there's already a disconnect. And so I try to be my most vulnerable self because my profession is to help women feel comfortable and confident in their clothes. I can't help you if you don't feel comfortable talking to me. And I think having other people see I call them flaws, even though that's not really what they are, but just to kind of speak in a very overreaching term. If they can see, oh, she has cellulite like I do, or she has a belly consideration like I do, then people feel comfortable coming to me. And it has forced me to become more comfortable with my own body, seeing it online and really realizing this disconnect, which I'd like to dive into a little bit further. On the flip side, I would say that by doing this series, it's also made me a lot braver because when I walk into a networking room, half the people in there have seen me in my underwear. Not many people could say that. So really, I'm like, what else do I have to lose? They've already seen all of me. I can't really make much more of a fool of myself. Like, they know me completely. So if they're still coming up to talk to me, I know they like me for me and they want to get to know me. There's no acting, there's no faking. It's real, it's raw, it's genuine. And I think that's what we need these days.
I completely agree. And I think so many women are probably like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I could never put my whole body out there online, and I couldn't let people see me. I wanted to touch on a couple things that you said, and I would love to jump into the disconnect and ask you more about that. One thing I picked up on, which I think we totally gloss over or we don't think about, is there's kind of this like this factor of like, you don't know me, like my problems are worse than other people's problems. When you said, these women who are size 16 said, you can't dress me because you're a size 6, right? Or, we make those judgments about other women around us all the time. And I literally have done this before. I am a short, I'm 5'2". For people who don't know, I have always been, I wouldn't say like heavy set per se, but pretty normal, like in the middle. My body's very in the middle. I have giant boobs and hips. And so I often feel like for me, my judgment has always been when people are like, I wish I had big boobs. I'm always like, you don't know what it's like. You'll never understand. It's awful. People say awful things to you and it makes you look fat and it makes you do this and it makes all these things. I have felt about other women, even though I would say like, I'm pretty in the middle. I range from the smallest I've been in a long time, besides, high school or whatever, is like a size 6, and the largest I've been is a size 16. So I've done it all, right? Like, or I guess a size 18 probably. So I've like done the whole spectrum. And when I'm higher on that spectrum, I do have this thing where I look at other women and I'm like, you don't get it because you're skinny. Like, don't say that because you're skinny. Like, you can't possibly understand the way that I feel because, and we have these judgments, and maybe it's not about skinniness. For somebody else, it might be acne. Oh, you don't have the acne that I have, so you will never understand what it's like to be me. You can't possibly, understand how hard it is. And I think sometimes we kind of get on our high horses, or like we get a little martyred, even if that's like a hard word, of like we get to be martyrs where we're like, nobody understands. And that's why I can hate my body, but you can love yours. And I expect everybody else to love theirs, but I have to hate mine. Have you seen a lot of this disconnect? Is this part of the disconnect you're talking about, or is it more?
Yeah, I think I noticed it online when I was helping women and I was talking about their specific body shape and how their body has changed for them. And other women would comment, just like you were saying, oh, they don't have hips. Well, maybe they're a size 6 now in midlife, but maybe for their entire life, they were a size 2. So to them, their body has changed significantly. Your body has changed significantly. So that was really where I learned you can't judge someone based on how they look now because you have no idea how they looked back then, what they have gone through. A lot of people, it's not just the biological changes, but I learned through my dad being sick for a really long time. Like, when you are a caregiver and you're taking care of a sick loved one, your body goes through extreme changes because you're not the priority at that time. You're placing all that emphasis on someone else. So, whether that's motherhood or taking care of a sick loved one, right? And so, yes, I think we are always the most critical of ourselves, which is why I started implementing what I call the red rule. Most people refer to the red rule as wearing red because it makes you feel powerful. For me, the red rule is about loving yourself, and it's the opposite of the golden rule. So everyone knows the golden rule is treat others how you would want to be treated. I say the red rule is the opposite. So you think about how you would talk about your friend, your sister, your mom. Most specifically, a lot of my friends can relate to this, their daughters or their nieces. If you wouldn't say it to her, you can't say it to yourself. If you wouldn't say it about her, you can't say it about yourself. If you can't look at your daughter and say, you have a fat belly, you can't look at yourself and say it either. And so I think that, again, just plays into the emphasis of we try to build others up. We try to be there for others. But if we don't do the same to ourselves, then they're going to pick up on that. They're going to see how you talk to yourself and how you treat yourself. And I noticed that I had a lot of body dysmorphia too that I didn't know about. And that's become a huge platform for me because it wasn't until I started filming myself and looking at my body through the camera lens that I realized what I saw in the mirror was a completely different body. Most people don't film themselves online or they don't take pictures of themselves in their underwear. We try to hide, right? So if you only see yourself in the mirror, you're only seeing this exaggerated form of yourself. You are your own worst enemy. And that's just what I'm here to do, is to try to share that message, because I have been my own worst enemy my whole life. You were talking about having big boobs. I'm 5'11". I have never fit in. I have been this tall since I was 12 years old. All of my friends were getting boyfriends. I had none. I was the last to develop. I was the last to get, I still don't have my boobs. And they're small, but I love them now. I was one of the last to get my period. Like, I just felt like I didn't, no matter what I tried, I couldn't fit in. And I think that's why I placed so much emphasis on my body, because I felt like that was something I could try to control because there was so much I couldn't. And it wasn't just a big body, it was also a big personality too, you know? And so as women, we try to shrink, we try to hide. And fashion is just the avenue that I use to try to bring that personality out and to try to help women find their confidence and find their inner voice.
Yeah, I think that's really important to recognize, right? Everyone has their own journey, and especially people who we probably think, right? There could have been people looking at you. Like, I think me in high school could have been like, oh my gosh, she's so tall and slender. You know, she's so tall and slender. I wish I was like that. Whereas, you know, there's always the opposite at play. We're always that worst enemy. I love that red rule. You know, if you wouldn't say it to your daughter, if you wouldn't say it to your niece, if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, don't say it to yourself, which I think is so important. And I think this body dysmorphia is really important to touch on, because I think we have way more body dysmorphia than we think or imagine that we do, especially when we look at pictures. You know, they always say like the camera adds 10, and like you look at pictures of yourself and you're like, oh my goodness. The mirror also can add 10 to your body and create something like that. And I remember seeing one of your posts where you talked about, you were like, this is the moment, you know, I was showing everyone my body and being confident and helping people be confident by being here and showing everything. And this is the moment where I was staring at myself and being like, I don't like my body. Like, you share those moments with people and let them know, like, this is a journey for me too. Like, this is something that I'm still going on for myself. But I think it's fascinating, the inverse, this kind of inverse relationship you've had where by showing everyone everything, you're no longer afraid. Like, there's this boost of confidence for you. And I remember even at the retreat when we were talking about, you had just done, I can't remember what it was, but a talk. You had just done an event, a talk, and I think Jen was the one who said, "Oh my gosh, look at you. When you strip down to your bra and your panties, like, you are so confident. Look at your confidence just come out." And I think a lot of women are like, how can that be possible? How can that be possible? So I guess I want to ask, how is that possible for you to be confident?
I've put on probably about 20 pounds this year with stress and trying to figure out what my body needs. I realized I have been underfueling myself for years, and that has affected the way my body works. So I've been eating more. My body is working better, but my body looks different. It's something I still struggle with, but I'm glad that I have done this work because this year I saw a number on the scale that I literally told myself years ago, if I ever hit this number, my life is over. Why? I have no idea. I had friends and other people, but that was just the one thing I told myself. I said, my life will be over if I hit this number. I can never, ever, ever hit this number. I was so mean to myself. And I think a lot of that was years of people telling me things that I would just take and I would carry. And these were words from friends, from teachers, from coaches, people who I looked up to that told me I was too much and or not good enough. And so took all of that and I controlled myself so much. But then this year, I hopped on the scale and I saw that number. And while I was disappointed, yeah, my life wasn't over. And I kind of just brushed it off. And that was a huge eye-opening experience for me because I think in the past, like I said, my life would have been over. 19-year-old Camilia would have been bawling. She would just stop eating. She wouldn't go out. She would think she was a failure. But because now I know that my worth is not in my weight, I have friends, I have family, I have people who like me not because of the way I look. They love me for my personality. I know that I'm making a difference. I know my mission here on this earth during this time. And so that number turned into just that. It was a number and the number's even gone up since. And it's fine. But I remember watching the MTV True Life. You remember that series? And one of the episodes was about body dysmorphia. And I remember watching that thinking, well, I don't have that. These people are thinking the extreme. And it wasn't, and now years later, I'm like, no, I do have body dysmorphia. You said the camera adds 10 pounds. I think the mirror adds 20 pounds. That has been my experience and what I am learning. And I mentioned that during it was a public podcast interview, which was great. And I talked about that story, and a woman went home. She filmed herself in her underwear, sent me an Instagram DM and said, "You're right. My body did not look the way that I thought it looked when I watched it back on film." So I encourage everyone to do that. It is hard, but it makes a difference. And how I found my confidence in putting myself out there was knowing that the message that I was trying to share meant more than any judgment anyone could make about my body. And I didn't even think about the fact that my mom's going to see me in my underwear. My husband might be embarrassed. I asked him, I said, how do you feel about this? Because I'm literally shaking my arms and jiggling the belly and slapping the thigh and everything. People who I don't know are going to see this. People who I know are going to see this. People who I know don't like me are going to see this. But it's the people who don't know me who are taking this message in and it's making a difference in their life. That's why I do it, because the message is more important than my own scaredness, I guess I'll say. And that's what keeps me going. And having a very supportive husband who knows my mission, who supports everything that I do. I'm getting chills now thinking about it because I think that's so important. Just having that core, your celebration circle who supports you, is what gives me the bravery to continue doing this.
I love that celebration circle. I love that. And I love that this is the inverse of what so many women think about. Like the more vulnerable that you've been, the more confidence that's given you, and how you are encouraging women to do this. I think so many women would be afraid to do this. I think you and I talked about this, but for a while I was doing a challenge with myself where I would sit naked in front of the mirror and tell myself that I love myself. And that had such an impact from day one. From day one, I cannot tell you how much it transformed me, and just being able to look at myself for a long time. Because at first, you have to get over the initial shock, because that's a totally a thing. There will be an initial shock where you're like, and you want to pick yourself apart and you're like, I look like this, have this, blah, 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 blah. But if you look at yourself, like really start to look at yourself, you'll see, like, that's what happened to me. I was looking at myself, especially like this first time, and I was like, ugh, I hate this form of myself. I look like a fertility statue. I'm awful. Look, I stick out everywhere, blah, 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 blah. And then I just let myself look and look and look. And I all of a sudden saw, well, maybe there's a reason people liked fertility statues. Like maybe there's this beautiful reason that there is this beauty here. There's this sexiness here, and I have been stopping myself from seeing that, and it made me cry. Like I cried multiple times doing this exercise, and I'm like, I have to do it again because like you said, it's something, I don't think this is something you can just do once and be like, I'm confident forever. I'm so confident. Just like you have shown in your posts, this is something you're growing through all the time, and you're growing all the time. And so I wonder if we take this like even a little further in this idea that how we're so scared to be vulnerable, but what if our vulnerability is actually our superpower and can make us even more powerful, strong, confident. And it seems like that's what you have experienced and other women have experienced. Is that right?
Yeah, vulnerability leads to victory. That is my motto. That's what I speak on because that is all that has happened. Since I started becoming more vulnerable, there have been so many good things that have come into my life, whether it is people coming into my life, whether it is opportunities to further my career, whether it is opportunities to try new things and travel. Just my life has been filled with so much good since I started being vulnerable. Now, I'm not going to say that just because I do talks in my underwear doesn't mean that I don't still get nervous. It doesn't mean that I love my body wholly and completely every single day. Like you mentioned, it is a journey, it is not a destination. And I know it sounds cliche, we hear that all the time. And I used to think, oh, well, she's figured it out. She has confidence. There are moments when your confidence is higher and you love yourself more, and there are moments when it's harder. But I think when you have those tools to change your thinking, it becomes a lot easier. And so, what I would do is I would change the way that I talked about my body when I looked at it in the mirror. I would say my rolls are really cute. My skin is soft. I'm squishy. I am huggable. I look like a teddy bear. I bet my husband loves squeezing me, right? So all of those things, changing the words that you use make a difference. And all of that, yeah, the vulnerability has done nothing but bring so much good into my life. And you have to just take that first scary step. The first video I filmed in an empty space, just like the one that I'm in right now, in my underwear with me and the camera, wondering how people were going to react. I didn't tell anyone I was filming the video. Was really scary. And when you watch it, you can see the slight fear on my face. But when it was well received, when the message I was trying to portray was heard, it made all the difference. And so to me, vulnerability is like a drawbridge. So when your drawbridge is up, when you are not vulnerable and you're protecting yourself from the scary outside world, you're keeping the bad away, yes, but you're not allowing anything good to come into your life. So if you're vulnerable, you let that drawbridge down, you let some good people into your life, some good experiences, some new opportunities. I have found now that my little village, my castle, is so full of good people and good feelings that there's no room for the bad to even get in because it's so full of goodness. Nothing bad is coming my way. In fact, I think I have to expand my village because I need more goodness coming in. And so think about that. What is your drawbridge? What are you using to keep people at a distance? How can you be more vulnerable? How can you be more open? Because people want to connect. And not everyone has to do it in their underwear. That's just the way that I have chosen to do it. But I think when you're open and you're vulnerable and you're honest about your business, your life, your fears, whatever it is, people want to connect with that. And people want to help people. So if you let people know what you're struggling with, you'll find the help that you're looking for.
Hey friends, it's Julie. I'm just popping in here real quick to tell you about a very special invitation we have for you. If you have been feeling deeply called to learn more about your feminine identity or to see what feminine power really is, or you're just loving the podcast, then Kaylee and I would love to invite you to join our community, Feminine Alchemist. Inside, we host live monthly women's circles, challenges, and Wheel of the Year celebrations. They are seriously so much fun. We have monthly workshops where we bring in experts to teach on anything from menstruation to mythology. You'll also get access to our library of courses about astrology, intuition techniques, sacred embodiment, and cyclical living. And most importantly, you'll be able to connect with women who are like-hearted and walking the same path as you. So if this sounds exciting to you, join today by clicking the link in the show notes or going to femininealchemist.com. That's alchemist spelled MYST. Okay, back to the episode. Yeah, and you've been so honest about that. I think you have been one of those people who people easily look up to just because you're honest about this isn't easy. Like what I've been doing isn't easy. My job isn't easy. This has been incredibly stressful, and you and I talked about that even at the retreat, all the stress and the difficulty. But I'm glad that this has lent you, the power to get through it and that vulnerability has expanded your village so much. And I wanted to just go back and like not what is the word congratulate you. I guess I wanted to go back and congratulate you a little bit because when you're talking about reaching that certain number on the scale and being like, oh my gosh, my life was going to be over, and now like having the power to be like, my life is not over at all, I have such a life. I think that is incredibly powerful. And if you can get to that point, like that is really living, that is letting go of all of those insecurities and also giving yourself flexibility, like knowing like this is a season in my life. It's okay to be like this for a season and to let this be. There will be other seasons and other times, and this is what's important right now. But I do love this idea of the vulnerability drawbridge, right? Like you're keeping everything out. And that can be great. We have all met people like this. I know people really, really well who have this, their drawbridge is always up. But how much more protection you've been given by letting people in, by opening that up, by being vulnerable. So you talked about your first step in some of this was the way that you talk to your body. I want to kind of give some people some hows, like how would someone go about cultivating confidence in their body? Maybe they're not ready to like strip down in their underwear and post it on Instagram. Maybe they're not ready for that piece, but what are some things that women can do to help them cultivate confidence in their body?
It's hard and it takes a lot of work. I think what you have done and what I have done is very similar with looking at our bodies in the mirror and changing the way that we look at ourselves and the way that we talk about ourselves. I think the first thing you need to do is you need to flood your social media feed with positive people, with the people who are going to bring you confidence. So maybe it is body confidence. Maybe it is women who are rocking their gray hairs. I'm starting to grow my grays out, even though I'm 35. I can't hide it anymore. It's such a hassle to dye my gray hair. So maybe you're with the women who are rocking the gray hair. You need to find the people that are talking about and showing positive images that you need to see, because it's not just about how you talk to yourself, but your brain will start to mirror what you see. And that was what helped me, seeing other people share their bodies online, share their vulnerability. Maybe it's someone who is working through their acne journey. Follow those people who are sharing what is real, because there's so much that we see online, especially with the rise of AI, with filters, with more, skin plastic surgery, right? And these med spas. And I'm not knocking anyone who gets procedures done. I have done microneedling. I am not against anything, but it is all a personal preference. If that is all you see, that's all you're going to know. So I think the first step is really surrounding yourself with the positive words and images that you need in your life with whatever you are struggling with. The next step is really looking at yourself and seeing the beauty. And I think it's easier to see that beauty once you've surrounded yourself with other people who are on their gray hair journey, on their acne journey, on their body love journey. You referenced fertility statues. That's what I looked at a lot. Ancient statues, beautiful medieval paintings of women who had roles, who were squishy, who were soft, and looking at their beauty and trying to find that beauty within myself. So, again, that goes back to curating what you see in your life. And then what beauty in other people can you find in yourself? So it's talking to yourself, is journaling. And I think it's also surrounding yourself with the right people. So while I am a huge proponent of keeping your drawbridge down, it's not to say that you have to let everyone into your village. I like to give everyone a shot, but there are certain people I've met and my gut kind of gives me those signals. I'm not really sure. So let me give them another opportunity. And I'll ask people who know that person, not in a gossipy way, but just, hey, can you tell me about your experience? Because I genuinely want to know, what's the vibe? And some people, I'm like, you know what? I think my first impression maybe wasn't the best, but I want to bring you in. And then there are certain people where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave my drawbridge down so we can have an interaction, but you're not coming into my village necessarily, right? I have the absolute best friends, the most supportive friends. I truly did not know what community over competition meant until these women came into my life. We are all speaking. We are all business owners. We are all trying to write books, be on podcasts. We're all doing the exact same thing, but it is not competition and everyone is celebrating each other. And if that is not where you are, you have to change your environment. Easier said than done, I know. But as someone who has gone through an environment change, it made all the difference. I was with people and it wasn't a physical way that they were tearing me down, but it was a mental way. They were not supporting me. They were 100% against me. It brought me down. When there was a separation, my life skyrocketed. So I think it all comes down to curating the environment around you that is going to help you succeed.
Yeah, that is huge. And it's not something we often think about. Like people may have thought about like talking to themselves kinder because that's the way that we talk about that more often. But they don't often think about what is my community doing? And there's that phrase which I actually think this is very true, like you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And that really affects the way you think about yourself. And lots of times it's not what people say. It's really not. It's what they do, it's the actions, it's the looks, it's the body language that all affects you. And I love that you brought up community over competition because we talk a lot on this podcast, as you know, about the feminine. And we talk about the witch wound and this wound that women have to turn against each other, that we have kind of this ancestral wound that tells us, we have to watch out for ourselves. And if she gets in my way, and I think that's also part of us living in an environment that is so competitive, and that's what we've been told our whole lives is you have to push other people down, get rid of the competition, be number one. And I think that really hurts women on their body journeys more than they think because it
Yeah.
just cultivates so much comparison, just comparison.
Yeah, what I have started saying is people can replicate what you do, but they can't repeat what you do. And that goes for me too. I am not the first person to share my body online. I'm not going to be the last. I was inspired by other women, but the message I'm sharing is different. My audience is different. And I don't think there's anything bad with doing something similar in a different way because if my goal is to help people, yeah, I want everyone to do this so we can help change the world. And so I have so many friends, like I said, we're trying to be authors and be on podcasts and do speaking engagements. And I have friends who are stylists, but they style in a completely different way. They run their business different. And I'm like, you go, girlfriend, because guess what? I can't serve everybody. I don't want to serve everybody. I'm not the only person that has a clothing line. I'm the only one who's going to run it the way that I'm going to run it. But the clothes that I have aren't going to serve everyone, and that's okay. So there truly is room for everyone. I think when you realize, yes, you can replicate, but you can't repeat. What you do is special, it is unique. And you can't serve everybody, and you don't want to serve everybody. If you had to serve everybody, that would bring you down. How lucky and fortunate are you to be able to curate the audience that you want to serve that fits your mission, that fits your lifestyle, that fits just who you are? I think that's amazing.
Yes, yes. And this is the conversation that needs to be had. We are so afraid. We're so afraid of people like copycats and copying us and what will happen or taking other people's ideas. And I literally just had a friend who she's doing a mentorship program and she was like, just so you know, I took a lot of stuff from you guys. Like I'm doing things similar from what I've learned from you and Kaylee and Feminine Alchemist. And I am, putting my own spin on it. And I was like, great. That's, I wasn't worried about it. I'm not worried about it because we can serve different kinds of people. We can do our own thing. And like you said, like people can replicate, they can never exactly repeat you. They'll never be you because it's you yourself that makes things completely special. So I love that you brought that up and you brought up your clothing line and other things. I want to hear about the things that you're doing, the other ways you're promoting this. Tell me about the clothing line. When's it coming out? I know you're also doing these special parties, so tell us all about them.
Yeah, the clothing line I'm so excited about. So I started working at a boutique, and what we noticed there was we had women that were drawn to certain styles because they fit a wide range of body shapes, of body sizes, of body types. Again, working with midlife women, we noticed consistent areas of the body where women felt self conscious. So we found clothes that worked well for them. So we kind of took a step back and said, why are we trying to bring in all these different clothing lines, all these different styles? Let's take a step back, curate a clothing line that works for us, that works for our clients, that is specific, that we have control over. We know what colors they like to wear, we know what styles they like. So let's go ahead and take control of this and really give women what they are asking for. And so that was kind of the story behind starting the clothing line. I'm very proud to say that it is made in the US. So we are working with a warehouse out of LA. So I'm really excited about that. I also really wanted charity to be a big part of this. So I'm donating a portion of all of the net profits from every sale back to charity. So that will be rotating charities throughout the year. I'm going to start with a local one here in Raleigh, Sage Girls, because I think it's also really important to not only help women find confidence, but we really have to start with the youth. We have to start with the girls that are in elementary school, middle school, when they really start to notice that their body is different and they start feeling self conscious. Two of my friends have had conversations with their nieces, and they've called me in to talk to them because they said they're struggling with their body. They're not listening to us. Maybe they'll listen to you. And that was a reflection for me going back to middle school, right? That is when we start to notice our body has changed. I saw a video recently, and this is a side note. A woman asked both men and women, do you remember the first time someone said something negative about your body? Women. Every woman said yes. 9, 10, 6, 12, 8, all around the same age. I think out of the 12 men she interviewed, maybe 3 of them said yes. And I just thought that was crazy that at such a young age, we're already put in this societal pressure to look a certain way. So that's a side note. So the first charity I'm working with is going to be one that does help high school girls find confidence, So I'm really excited to do that. But like I said, that's going to be a rotating charity, and giving back is something that's really important to me. So I had this idea for the clothing line, how I wanted to give back, where I wanted to be made, what kind of clothes I wanted to create. But the hardest part actually was figuring out what I was going to call it. So I had a lot of conversations with ChatGPT, let me tell you. A lot of arguments with ChatGPT trying to figure out this name. And finally, I settled on Confidera because these are clothes that make you feel good in your confident era. So that is Confidera clothing. I'm really excited. It is the last week of August right now, and my samples should be arriving any day now for approval. So as soon as I approve those samples, then we're going into full production. So I'm hoping that I'll have the line launched maybe the end of September or the beginning of October.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for you. I love that.
Thank
Confidera, your
you.
confident era.
Yes.
That's
Sizes
beautiful.
sizes extra small through X to start. I do want to expand in the future to offer a wider variety, but of course, starting out with a small clothing line, solopreneur. That's what we're starting with. But we are going to offer international shipping.
That's awesome. That's so great. Yeah, and I mean, for people who've ever if people have never been in an industry or entrepreneurs before where you're testing something out, you have to start with a smaller line because you just don't know what will happen and what it will look like, and especially getting those samples, there's so much that goes on with shipping and working with the
Girl, I am
companies.
learning a lot.
It's hard. It's really hard. I am so proud of you. That's amazing. And I hope everyone will check out the Confidera line. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so hopeful. I'm hopeful that this will drop around the time that the line is ready to go and starting out. So everyone take a look, find it there. I also want to talk about your special slumber parties and what you've been doing with those. Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about it.
Yes, I love this party. I get chills every time I think about it because it was literally the best night of my life, the one that I have hosted so far. So the inspiration for this again goes back to myself realizing I had this body dysmorphia and realizing that my body looked different online than the way that I thought it looked when I saw myself in the mirror. And I had come to this realization and I was starting to love myself more and I was starting to understand and have these tools, right, that I can use to change my self talk. But then one day on a walk, I realized, well, I have these tools, but a lot of women don't. We need to figure out how can we help women, and we, I mean me, but also we as a society, right? How can we help women learn to love themselves and really free themselves from this tie to what they look like in clothing? Going back to the scale, we're so tied to numbers, whether it's number on the scale, a number on the clothing tag, the number that you have in your age. I hear a lot of women say, I can't wear that. It's too young for me. It's too youthful. I'm too old for that. And I say, I have never seen a clothing tag with an age restriction. It doesn't exist. We're so tied to numbers. How can I help women free themselves from this tie to the number? How can I help women feel comfortable, feel confident, feel sexy? Because I do think that's important. And a lot of times, I feel like when we want to be sexy, it is not always for us. We can say it is, but deep, 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 deep down, you want a reaction from your partner. You wear sexy lingerie, yeah, because you feel good, but you want to impress your partner too. You want them to comment and say, ooh, you look good, right? You want to get them excited. Where can you truly be sexy and have fun and let loose in a space that is just for you? It's at the PJ and lingerie dance party. So I wanted women to have this experience, and not everyone is going to feel comfortable wearing lingerie. So that's why it's PJ and lingerie. But I want to try to push women just as I've pushed myself. If you're going to be kind of sexy, if you're going to wear something risque, if you're going to show a little skin, do it in an environment where it is women only, where you are going to impress no one but yourself. And that's also why it was really important for me to have a boudoir photographer at this event. Because again, most women don't have the opportunity to take a boudoir photo. I have. It's amazing. It is so empowering. Some women do for engagement gifts. Some women do it, for maternity. But again, even when you're doing boudoir, a lot of times it still is a gift, sort of, for someone else, right? This is an opportunity for you to have a sexy photo where you feel powerful, you feel confident, and it is for no one but you. And to be honest, part of it is a little selfish because I am a millennial. I miss club culture. It is not a thing anymore. So I was like, I want to shake my ass and have a good time. And what was so amazing about this event is because I've broadened my friendship circle, I have my new celebration circle. I have women across the entire spectrum. I had women that were there with me, tits out, ass out, shaking it on the dance floor. I had some women that have taken vows with their partners that they are not going to expose themselves that way in a public setting. And my friend said, I love lingerie, but that's for my husband. So she came in what made her feel comfortable. And I loved that. So we had both ends of the spectrum. And also, there's a big sober movement right now. I still like to drink and have fun. I had a lot of friends there who didn't drink at all. So we had a wide variety of cocktails, mocktails. We had regular pizza, gluten-free pizza, vegan pizza. I made sure there was something for everyone because I want it to be an experience that everyone can enjoy, no matter where you fall on the spectrum of being totally naked, being totally clothed, drinking, not drinking, whatever your dietary restrictions are. I want you to feel welcome. And that's what this night was. And it was the best night of my life because I was able to create that space where people felt comfortable being vulnerable. But then when someone else who was a guest who didn't know anyone at that time told me it also was the best night of her life, that's when I was like, holy moly, we have something here. So I've done one event in Raleigh. My co-host Lucy helped me. It was amazing. We are taking it to Phoenix, Arizona, September 20th. So we're doing the PJ and lingerie dance party there. My friend Eileen with Be Ever Thine is helping me host that. And my goal for 2025 into 2026 is I want to bring this to other cities across the country. So if anyone wants to partner, reach out. I would love to bring this amazing event to your city because I don't think it's something that should be exclusive just to Raleigh, where I'm located. I think this is an event. It's such a powerful experience that everyone should be able to experience just once.
I love it. I love that so much. I'm like already thinking like, where can we do one? Where are we? Maybe we'll do one in Florida in a few
Yes.
months. Yeah.
And same thing. I am not the only person who is hosting PJ parties. Someone told me they did a PJ and lingerie party. I know there are so many people that have these different events where you're in your PJs or you're in your lingerie or you're doing something similar. This is another example of I am not the first and only person to do this. I'm just doing it in a way that makes sense for me and my audience. So if you want to come, I'm more than happy to have you, but I don't want to take credit. I haven't invented this. People are doing this in their own way. This is just something that I've curated with my audience. And if you feel comfortable being vulnerable with me, then I would love to see you there.
I love that. Camellia Jade, how wonderful. Who wouldn't want to be vulnerable with you and come and spend time with you? I so love it. There's just one more thing I want to touch on, if that's okay,
Absolutely.
before I let you go. And it's kind of a sticky subject to talk about for women. And I don't want to do it in a way that's not sensitive, but I do want to talk about how interesting. So I love this idea. You're letting people come. I love the inclusiveness. I wanted to talk about that because yeah, there are people who don't want to be in lingerie. They want to be in PJs, all of those kinds of things. I love that you're doing this just for women and the idea that it's just for you. It's not for anybody else. It's not a gift for your partner. It's not to look good in front of anybody else. And I also wanted to talk about how we need that space. And I think partially because of this culture that we have, we talked a lot about comparison. And I just wanted to talk about one of the places that that comes from a little bit. And this is not to down anybody who is into this or anything like that. But I want to talk a little bit about plastic surgery and how it is shaping the way that we view ourselves and view other people. Just was listening to an interview with Dr. Yoon, who he is like he calls himself a holistic plastic surgeon, which really means he tries to do natural things before and like give you stuff for your skin and everything before we go into an actual facelift, things like that. But you see so much on the news about like the Kardashians and like this facelift that just happened and all of that kind of stuff. And I was thinking about what you said about the little girls and how these little girls, you're going to speak to them and how they have had all these negative things said about their body at such young ages. I can remember for myself at a really young age, negative thing being called fat when I was little. I probably 7, 6 or 7. And I think part of it is these little girls are looking up to us and they're looking up to a culture. They look at their moms, their grandmothers. And in a lot of ways, plastic surgery has changed so much of the way that looks, like the way that we look and the way that we compare ourselves. And there's so, you could say social media does this. Of course, there are other things that do this. AI is starting to do this for people, but it's so interesting that we're very, very willing to alter our bodies. And I'm not saying like that no one should ever do it or that I would never do anything ever or anything like that. But I just want to acknowledge and ask you your thoughts about the plastic surgery culture and how normalized it's become. And like, do you have thoughts and feelings about that from a body confidence perspective?
It's so funny because I do. And this is where, for me, I'll be honest, there's some personal internal conflict. So, one thing I'll talk about is like my gray hair. I'm kind of deciding right now, am I going to grow it out? I kind of like it. I feel like it looks kind of good, but I'm 35. Like, that's really young for me to have gray hair. And I have to decide, okay, if I'm going to let my gray hair grow in, no one's going to mistake me for a 25-year-old anymore. So it's something I really have to come to and accept. And I've tried Botox before, and I always thought I was going to do it again. I have done microneedling instead, and I feel like that is my version of more of a natural way to kind of fight aging. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. What is hard for me, and I've had this conversation before, if you have too much Botox and your face doesn't move, it can lead to you being less trusting because people look for social cues on your face. So if your eyebrows don't raise, people can't read you and it makes you could be the nicest person, but if they can't connect with you in that very like primal way, it can lead to a little bit of disconnect. So I don't know if that's something people think of. Like, yes, you're beautiful for the photo, but how are you having your relationships in real life? Like, maybe your friends are great, but someone who you're meeting for the first time, they might not connect with you as well because they can't read your social cues. So that's one thing to think about. And I think we have what I'm really nervous about is with the rise of Ozempic is we have this heroin chic that is kind of coming back. And I'll be honest, it's an internal conflict because I want people to be happy. I want people to look good and have confidence. I don't think that anyone should be denied that. But really, if we take 10 steps back, what this all comes down to is think you don't feel worthy enough and you don't feel enough as you are. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's what I am realizing as an adult. Now, I am, yes, naked online, naked, so to speak. But there are a lot of things that give me anxiety in day-to-day life that normal people go through. Like, I actually have extreme social anxiety. I do not like to go to any event where I do not know at least one person. People think I'm so confident, but I need what I call my shell, my home base to crawl back to. I'm very, self-conscious, but plastic surgery, I'm not against it. I have thought about getting a little bit of like a lip flip because my lips are uneven. And when I wear lipstick, which I love to wear, I notice it a lot. Like one side is really thin, one side is plump, and it makes me feel self-conscious. So that's something I've thought about. Is it because I'm trying to have like full? No, it's just because I want a little bit of balance and symmetry to my face. So I think there's always this, it's a spectrum. There's no, it's good for you. There's no, it's bad for you. If we want to look at it from a holistic standpoint, I mean, it is putting toxins into your body. So there are all these things to, consider. Sometimes plastic surgery, if your goal is to look younger, sometimes it can make you look older. There's always a chance something bad could happen. There are so many celebrities that have had botched plastic surgery jobs. So there are always things to consider. But I think if you're wanting to have so many things done, if you're wanting to have all of these procedures, if you want to fix this, fix that, fix this, fix that, that's when we really need to recognize it's not the outside. And that's what I did for so long with my body. I tried to control it because I was so unhappy with the inside. I did not feel like I was worthy to be here. That's something I've struggled with. We talked about that at the retreat. My biggest struggle in life has been finding my worth outside of my weight, my worth outside of my work. Just saying you are a human being and you are allowed to be here. You don't have to give to anyone. You are enough. Like, you're not too much. You're not too little. You're perfect as you are. That's been really hard for me. And so I think we all struggle with something internally. So if we're looking to the external validation always, if we are so caught up on the external, I think that's a signal that there's something internally that we need to work on.
Hey friends, it's Jayan here. If you have been feeling really stressed out about the world lately, you are not alone. There's been enough crazy and fear flying around the internet that even I've been knocked off my rocker sometimes. But it's times like these that I'm really grateful for the tools I have to regulate my nervous system. I developed these tools for myself when I was going through the thick of it. My babies were young and I had a ton of repressed anger. And these tools helped me through other stressful times, including negotiating my own divorce, having difficult money conversations, and of course, the whole COVID experience. And I've put all these tools in a method I call the authentic self-care method. This is different than other self-care programs because it is a framework for you to find your special sauce when it comes to self-care. And let me tell you a secret. Step 1 is not take a bath, get a haircut, or go to the gym. Step 1 is regulate your nervous system. And that's exactly what we do inside the 3-in-1 membership. This powerful program includes focused journals and meditations you can do in just a few minutes, like the fight or flight session, the hippocampus session, which rewrites your ability to see new possibilities, and the vagus nerve session, which helps you regulate your whole body in a crisis. Using these tools, members have reported feeling more empowered, more expansive, and many experience relief from actual physical pain, all for less than $2 a day. So join the 3-in-1 membership now so you can learn these tools today. The world is not going to become less crazy. The only thing you can control is how you respond to it. The 3-in-1 membership will help you do that, so click the link in the show notes to enroll today.
I think there's a lot of layers to this. And that's why I said, like, I don't want to down anyone who, wants some of these procedures or is interested or has done them. The idea is not to bring more shame because heaven knows we don't need more shame in this world. But I do see some of the exactly what you see, which is lots of times, this is a band-aid solution for people. This is not actually going into the root cause of why do I want to do this? I also see it as we idolize youth so much as like the standard of beauty. And you have to be young all the time to be beautiful. And we've let go of like our beautiful crones, like our beautiful crowned ones, and the beauty that comes from having wrinkles and wisdom. And I was thinking about like those women that you're working with in the midlife. Part of the reason that they hate their bodies so much is because the bodies they're comparing themselves to are 20 years younger than themselves and what they quote unquote should be, and that we must stay young forever. And I think that in our psyche can really damage us. And I think so much can damage the youth who are comparing themselves. Like I know girls who want to get Botox when they're 18. They're 18 years old and they already want to start having treatments of Botox. Also, you talked a little bit about Ozempic. I sometimes worry about what this might do to our culture in ways. Like you said, you want everyone to be confident and happy. And I'm an attorney. I have to mention there are a couple lawsuits out there with Ozempic, people losing their eyesight, there are issues. There's always going to be issues with the pharmaceutical. That's just the way that it is. But what I see is I have had conversations with women, like literally good friend of mine, started on Ozempic, and she is very holistic and she knows the repercussions and she knows what might happen. And literally her words were, I'm willing to do this just because like I hate my body this much. Like this is how much, like if I can't have what I want, at least I could have the body that I want. And it's those kinds of attitudes, the attitude that, and sometimes I feel this way. I don't know if I think you saw it. I did a post about this for myself that like sometimes as a woman, the thing I think being beautiful is more important than literally anything else. I think we feel that way. I think that's like a very normal feeling and it can seem incredibly shallow, but I bet you that every woman has had this feeling in some way, shape, or form that I am not good enough solely because of my beauty and the beauty. If I was pretty, everything else would fall into place. So that is the belief that we sell ourselves. And sometimes we think like beauty is more important than having friends. Beauty is more important than being a good mom. Beauty is more important. And sometimes we really believe that. And we've been kind of sold that. And so I just sometimes worry about, are we letting
Women are going to be critiqued no matter what. I saw a video recently and it said Demi Moore is being criticized for looking too young, while Sarah Jessica Parker is being criticized for aging naturally. You are criticized for being overweight and being body positive and promoting an unhealthy body. And then you're criticized for losing weight and giving in to the media. You're criticized if you have a gap in your tooth and you embrace your natural smile. You're criticized if you fix it and you get veneers. People just want to hate no matter what. And I think the other big thing to take away from this is the messages that we have received. And I think this is going to be the cherry on top of the sundae, because this is what's true for me. The people who criticize the loudest are the people who are the most unhappy with themselves. Whether it is they can't control their environment, maybe they have a sick loved one and they are just exhausted. They have nowhere to put that anger. They already hate themselves enough. They're going to put it on someone they don't even know, that has nothing to do with their life. And it's easier said than done. But as someone who has put videos online for the last 4 years and who has been kicked lower than the dirt in some of the comments, I have a friend who I tagged in a video, my friend Sherry, and she will send me comments sometimes in DMs and she says, I don't know how you do this because this is one video of me. And the comments aren't even that bad. I know you've received worse. So when you get that every single day, day after day, year after year, and all I'm trying to do is help. That's the worst part. I just want to make someone feel good, and I get kicked down day after day after day, comment after comment after comment. But it means the message is needed. You need to recognize that if someone is tearing you down, it is because you are reflecting something in them that makes them feel uncomfortable. You have something that they want. And I think that has been something that has been a struggle for me my whole life. I am a big girl with a big personality. Most people can't handle that. And so instead of people embracing me and celebrating me like my celebration circle does now, which again, I have to say, I have to give credit to my friend Jen. She calls them her front row. I didn't want to take that from her, so I changed it to my celebration circle. That sounds a little bit more like that's more branded for me. But again, another thing, I've been inspired by somebody else. It doesn't take away. It's the same message. We're sharing it in different ways, right? But my celebration circle has my back now. For so long, I didn't have that. And people didn't know how to react. I think I intimidated a lot of people. I'm tall. I am beautiful. I do have confidence occasionally. I had a big personality. I have a bold, loud laugh. People didn't know how to handle it, so they tried to chisel me down year after year after year throughout my entire childhood into adulthood, even in my mid 30s. Adults, people who were my friends at one point, had done that to me. So that is the biggest thing to take away. You will be criticized no matter what, whether it is on your looks, whether it is on your personality. But you have to take that with a grain of salt and remember what is happening with those people. That is not a true direct reflection on you. And then it's up to you to decide, do you want to listen to that message or not? And that goes back to surrounding yourself with the people who are getting the message that you want to receive. If you surround yourself with influencers online who are getting plastic surgery and Botox, then you're going to think that's what you need. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the life you want to live, if you want to look perfect and that is what's important to you, do it, girlfriend. If that's what's going to make you feel valid and valuable and worthy as a human, and that's what you need, then you need to do that. But if you can surround yourself with the women who are fighting acne, embracing their gray hair, loving their body, it's going to help you further. And those extra procedures aren't going to feel quite as necessary as maybe they once did.
Amen. Amen to all of that. Yeah, it's all about the messages. I love it that we are getting. And I think it's important for us to promote the messages because like you talked about, it's not just about us, it's about the generations after us and what messages. These are the messages we've received. We've received these messages and we are now putting out all what I would call the shadow. We are putting our shadow onto other people, like you talked about, this reflection. There's something that you have that other people want. They're afraid of it. It causes an emotional reaction. And so they say terrible things. And we've suppressed ourselves and done so much of the shaming that this is what we get. This is the distortion that happens, is this, pushing onto other people our shadows. And so I love this idea of like, instead of having that be part of yourself, having your celebration circle, having your front row. Yes, Jen, thank you. Having your counsel, whatever it is for you, having those people and feeding yourself the good messages so that you can feed the generations after you those good messages, which is so beautiful. I love that so much. Well,
And I want to say one thing too, and I think this is important to you. I think that women can be sexy and powerful without doing it in a sexual manner. I think that's really important too. You can be sexy and you can embrace that, and it doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive.
yes, yeah, exactly. And that's something, we have talked about this, and I'll just be honest for myself, and I think a lot of women are afraid of this also. I have been afraid of being sexy for a long time because I was hurt
The
when I was
stigma.
younger. Yeah. Because of the stigma, but also because of like abuse that I suffered as a child. And a lot of women have that. And we get so scared of letting ourselves shine because of those things. And so, yeah, for someone stepping into that, someone who's afraid of being sexy in this way that's so open, or like wearing your lingerie out or whatever it is, like you said, I think it's so important that women can be sexy, and you don't have to be sexual or what we brand as this is what sexual looks like. I have to ask you before I let you go, because
Yeah.
like Sherry messaged you. She said, how do you do it? Right? How do you deal with the comments? And because I think a lot of people are wondering that. And I know you said your
Yeah.
celebration circle, but is there anything else that you have done to help you with all the negative comments that come up?
I think it is. Sorry, I'm going to plug up before I die. What has helped me? I think that's a little bit of everything, but it's just been a journey with myself, honestly. It has been a journey to realize that my worth is dependent on me and my thoughts and who I am and how I feel about myself, and not based on external validation and external comments, because that has been a struggle my whole life. And I have not realized that until I was into my adulthood, is I live my life by validation of others. And that's a struggle because validation makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I have given to others. but I need to also make sure that that validation is not needed. It is helpful. It makes me feel great, but it's not what I need to know that my place here on this planet as a human being is worthy. And so it's a continuation of hearing that message over and over again, reminding myself, almost putting myself in the place of the other person who's making those mean comments. What are they truly saying? Do they even know what they're saying? Sometimes I challenge people and they don't respond. My favorite response is a lot of people will say, I'm sorry, but dot, dot, dot. Like, I'm sorry, but this outfit is terrible. Let's just say that, right? And so I'll comment and I'll say, why are you sorry? Why are you sorry? You're making that comment, but you're doing it in a way, it's almost like saying, I know this is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's that saying, I'm not racist, but, and then usually it's followed by some kind of racist statement. You can't say I'm sorry and then use that as a validation for saying something negative. So, really, sometimes it depends. Sometimes I'll challenge that person. Sometimes I'll ask them a question. Sometimes they realize that they were trying to be genuine and it came off the wrong way. Some people have said, you know what, I was just having a really bad day. I'm sorry I left you that comment. And sometimes it's calling them out, sometimes it's ignoring it. But truly, it is the celebration circle. It is going back to the core of why I'm doing this. And I'm not going to lie and say it's always been easy. I called my husband one day. I had a bad day and I was receiving a lot of negative comments. And I said, I don't understand. All I'm trying to do is help people. All I'm trying to do is put good content out there, put good information out there, and I am getting shitted on left and right. I wanted to take it all down, but I knew I couldn't. I knew it was just a bad day, but I have felt that way. I have felt extremely low. I go through my highs and my lows, but it's centering myself, knowing my value, knowing my worth, knowing that my friends are there for me, my family is there for me, and trying to recognize that when people say mean things, 99.9% of the time, it is not really truly directed at you. And I think it comes out even more online. People just keyboard warriors, say whatever they want. It's because they're struggling with something they don't know how to deal with. They need to get it out to somebody. And most people think a random person on the internet is the way to go. Now, do they think about the person on the other end who's reading those comments? Probably not. But I think that's what it is, just reminding myself of my worth, surrounding myself with the right people, and almost having empathy towards those people that are writing those really, really mean comments and knowing that it's not truly about me, it's something about them.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. That's a lot to handle and you're doing it really beautifully. Honestly, I really admire you and how you take it. Like this lady, so people who don't know, Camellia has like over 300,000 followers. Like she has people say all kinds of things all the time. She has to deal with it all the time. And I think it's just so big of you to be able to see that. I love that you were vulnerable and said like there are highs and there are lows, but recognizing, and to me, like this is our modern day dehumanization. When there's a screen, it's really easy to dehumanize someone and to say whatever we want or to take it out. And like we discussed, like this is people's own stuff. It's their own shadow. I think it's really big of you to recognize that. But I just want to recognize you and like this is a tough job, right? Like you're taking on a lot. And I just hope you always have, my love and support, our love and support over here. We love you and that you really are making a difference. Really.
Yeah. Well, I also try to remind myself with the content that I put out there being body positive and talking about the parts of the body and how to dress for flabby arms or a bloated belly, apron belly, saddlebags, whatever it is. The people who really need that information probably don't feel confident enough to comment and to say, thank you, it's helped me. Maybe they'll like it, but they're probably silent watchers. Because that's how I am for a lot, and I was for a really long time. I needed the help, I wanted the help, I admired from afar, I didn't say anything. But the loudest voices are always the ones that matter the least.
Yeah, definitely. Especially those negative voices that feel the need to say something like that, right? And again, it just speaks to what's going on inside of them and their own difficulty, not about you at all. But thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, it had to end on a vulnerable moment, of course, but thank you so much for spending time with me, for talking about all of this, for giving us the tips and the tricks and the pieces of your journey. I want everyone to go look at Confidera, go to the line, check it out. Please, please, please. Camellia has really beautiful stuff. She really does. I love it. I'm excited. Next time I'm in Raleigh, when we travel down to Raleigh, I'm going to come to the store. I'm coming to the boutique. You know I will. And then check out the slumber parties. And if you want to partner, Camellia, how do people best get a hold of you and see your stuff?
So I would say the best central location is on Instagram or on TikTok. You can follow me. Instagram, Camellia_Jade. So Camellia is just like the flower. Jade is just like the gemstone. And that's my central location where I have my Confidera clothing line linked. I have the PJ and lingerie dance party linked. I also have a link for one of the conferences that I'm speaking at. So that's going to be the best central location to kind of find everything. Or you can go to my website, which is CameliaJade.com. That's how you can find the Confidera clothing. You can buy tickets to the PJ and lingerie dance party when we do launch in our different cities. And then you also can work with me personally. Right now, I offer virtual styling services, but I have a few things that are coming down the line. So I would say CameliaJade.com is the best central location to find everything that I have coming in the future.
I love it. Everyone go visit her. Go visit CameliaJade.com. Go find her on Instagram. She is wonderful and just such a great friend and advocate for everyone she meets. So, Camellia, is there anything you want to leave us with before we go?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing that I would leave everyone with is just I hope that you take in everything that we talked about. And I think the biggest change that you can make is just distancing yourself from all of those labels, all of those things you think you need to be. You need to be skinny, you need to be beautiful, you need to wear this size, you need to be this way, you need to perform this much at work. Just letting go of tying your worth to anything other than who you are as a person. And if you don't know who you are as a person, then that's where you start to do the work. Look at your friends and the people that you surround yourself with. Look at what you follow online, and if you feel like you're not in a good place or you're not where you want to be, that's where I would start. Look at who's around you. What are you bringing into your life? And if you don't like it, then you have the power to change it.
I love it. Such words of wisdom. Well, thank you, Camellia. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Please make sure to give us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening and share with someone you know. See you next week.